Hey, Ghost Hunters, how are you? Oh, just noticed my mic is. How can I do this? Like this. Same issues we've had for a while. Right, so let's hope this one just takes over. Busy doing something else and I'm kind of distracted. Oh, what a tangle. Tangled web we weave. Oh. Lights. It's my keyboard. Mouse goes. The problem is it's an HP laptop, and there's just not enough connections on it. Next time I'm in Walmart, Spire someplace, I'm gonna look for something better. No, I think this mic might just take over, hopefully. What to say? The light's on. I assume it's working. So, much better than the laptop mic. So anyway, ghosts and stuff. And here we are, coming to you from my haunted house tonight, yet again. And the weather's been very strange last couple of days. You know, very cold, then warm, then cold again. A lot of rain last night. Lot of rain. And the strange thing about Texas is that when it's going to rain, the winds become very severe. I mean, really extreme winds. Hold on. Let's get some heat on my feet here. And basically, when the winds start the trees start to go like this, you know that there's a rainstorm coming, a bad one. There was a very bad one last night. Now, I was out in it for a bit, which is not a great idea because I'm sick right now. I'm still sick. But, well, there's a reason. The reason I was out. But I'll get to that in a moment. But as I say, if I open the window, I might do that later and let you hear the wind that's blowing out there. Very severe. I can hear it in the rafters above me. And it's an old house. An old haunted house. As we've talked about already. Add to that the the family of Alistair Crowley once owned this house. There's something there, isn't there? So, but I don't have much worries here other than like lights going out in appropriate times and the occasional ghost cat being seen around the place. And of course there is an old lady who haunts the place. I've never saw her, but apparently she's good natured, so not a problem. But I have a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight anyway, so. But first of all, to ward off the winter chills, tonight we will be entertaining this. Yeah, I've talked about these things. I love these things. I don't know what these things are. I just like them. Anyway, so let's take that one off. And it's Bell's. See this? Bell's blended Scotch whiskey. It's a pretty good whiskey. One of the cheaper ones. But one of the cheaper whiskies, it's actually not bad. Funny thing is, when I was in the specs, if I'm not mistaken, okay, I believe Grouse is cheaper than this. I would have thought. I suppose quality-wise, some people might argue they're about the same. This is a pretty good whiskey. Don't get me wrong. But just matter of preference. I expected Grouse to be much more expensive, but it wasn't. But you find this and Grouse somewhere just above $20. Bells. So, without further ado, let's give it a taste. Ward off those winter chills, okay? Oh, first of all, I've got to do my nose test. Oh yeah. Almost a fruity smell. Quite interesting. Now, obviously, the difference, and I would say this would be the difference between this and Grouse, and this is why I was surprised that this was about the same price as Grouse. Is this whiskey is only 3 years old? Says so in the back, yeah. And that surprises me. Does make it it's still a good whiskey. Good Scotch. So I think it's about $22 thereabouts. Have a taste. Oh yeah, quite nice. Oh, there it is. Thought I'd misplaced my water. Yeah, let's put a little water in it. Let's try it first. You know, without water. Really get the sense. Aromas, everything. It's not the whiskey that's making me cough, it's my cold. Still sick. I think I actually probably had Omicron. I'm thinking I probably did have it now. Well, it's passing away. But the thing about Omicron, passing over now, so not a problem. The thing about Omicron is something I learned. I've talked about it in previous videos. If you should unfortunately come down with COVID, or in fact anything like a bad cold or flu, what you want to do is you don't want to get down into your lungs, because that's where the problem starts. And I personally think, this is my opinion, I was a trained nurse, this is my opinion, the worst effects that a lot of people had from COVID was it sunk into their lungs, and they had a lot. It was difficult to clear that stuff. And I mean, last year I had COVID, and I had that dry cough. And afterwards I said, okay, next time I'm just going to get an N-acetylcysteine. It's called NAC, NEC. N-acetylcysteine. You should be able to get it from Sprouts or Walmart. It's a weird capsule. It has this weird smell to it. If you smell it, it's like it reminds me of like when my mother used to cook vegetables, like I'm trying to think, turnips or some mad thing like that, and there'd be a smell in the house. And yeah, I don't even think, turnips maybe. Yeah, turnips, Americans don't understand what turnips are. I try and buy turnips here, and they tell me, oh, you need a Swede, and they give me this other thing. No, that's not a turnip, that's a Swede. It's like a turnip, but it's, it'll do. So I need that. Talking of which, I'm going to need some turnips quite soon, because we're coming up to Robert Burns night, and of course, haggis, tatties and napes. It's haggis, potatoes and turnips is the meal that evening, traditional meal I always have. And a lot of people don't understand haggis. It's not what you think. It's really quite nice. And as for the meat that's in it, you can put anything you like in it. I make my own haggis. And I make a Texas haggis, believe it or not. Absolutely. Texas haggis. I use what's available. Tastes much the same. And then when it's on the plate, a light dusting of black pepper. That's what you need. I think I might even do that, because I'm gonna celebrate Burns Night here online. Maybe even have an hour on early in the evening. Who knows? Treat you to a Robert Burns poem or a song or something, which is what we do. But this is good whiskey. Very good for a 3-year-old blend. Not too bad at all. But turnips, yeah. Oh yeah, NEC, that's what it is. NAC. N-acetylcysteine. What it does is it will stop the garbage getting down into your lungs, and it keeps your lungs clear. I actually think I don't know a lot about the medicine. I mean, I research supplements and things like that. And so rather than going what I've read on sites like WebMD and all that stuff, which is, I'm not saying those sites are wrong. A lot of people have a go at them, but no, it's a good place to research supplements and drugs and health conditions. But in this case, I'm going from my own experience of it, and it acts like an expectorant, so you will bring up catarrh. You make your coughs productive instead of that terrible dry cough that everyone had with COVID. So did I have Omicron the last 3 weeks? Maybe I did. I'd say the symptom that made me wonder if it was more than a cold is very tired, very tired. I've just been, my motivation has got up and gone. Someone said, "Go for it, David," and I went for it, and I had already left. So there you are. So that's what it's been like the last maybe 3.5 weeks. So I've had good days and bad days. You have to it's one of those things, you just have to take these things on board. But, it's like, what can I say? COVID, or whatever, you just take it in its stride. I personally think there's a lot of... Omicron is pretty much overrated. I think that we've came to that conclusion. Like a bad cold. Pretty sure I had it. Pretty sure this is it. It's going away. Funny thing is, my wife seems to be immune to all these things. She had COVID with me in February last year. And I got COVID again in September, believe it or not. I was taking NAC at that point, so it didn't get down into my lungs. All the same symptoms, except the hacking cough wasn't there, and because I was taking NAC, I think I got over it faster. Same again this time. So this thing is like, who knows? Have I had COVID 3 times? I don't know. Funny thing is, second time, when I took the COVID test, and they said to me, well, I took the test and it showed up as negative. But then I spoke to someone, and he said to me, a doctor, he said to me, "Oh, I think you had it, but the time you took the test, it had passed it already. You didn't have enough in it to register. So, however that test works, I don't know, but maybe. But I certainly didn't have the effects, the dry cough, which is terrible. But I do have the lethargy, which makes me very tired in the evenings, and keeping pretty strange hours. Hence, I'm here right now talking about ghosts. Well, I haven't got onto the ghosts yet, but I will. I'll get there. Same as everything else, I like to talk. Hey, I'm a Scotsman. That's what we do. That's our gift to the world. We like to talk. When we talk more, worst thing about it is when we drink, we don't shut up. We just keep talking. I'd be here till doomsday if you want. Trust me, find something to talk about. I mean, here I am talking to an empty room here because basically I am, But that's okay, because I know you're out there, probably. So, whiskey. Slanchivar. So let's crack on, talk about ghosts. So, a couple of interesting things. I had a bit of feedback anyway coming on my Twitter feeds, few DMs. Actually, this is annoying because I had a little notepad here, and it's disappeared. Things I was going to talk about, notepad file. For some reason, I just can't get it. I'm using OBS Studio, and the annoying thing about OBS Studio, I see what it is. It's not going to work with this keyboard because I pulled this keyboard out to get my mouse to work. It's this. Go to this keyboard. Yeah, there you go. There we go. And while I'm here, I might as well just double check some stuff here also and make sure everything's as it ought to be. I'm actually broadcasting. They're just talking to fresh air, which I don't mind, frankly, what I do. But yeah, we're live. We appear to be live. Let's just look. Anyway, so, and click on that link. Make sure I'm muted. Any nonsense. Okay, so get my notepad up. A couple of things that occurred to me I wanted to talk about. So it's the American lady posted, "Oh, we don't have castles. We don't have castles in America. We can't talk about haunted castles and all that stuff." That's okay, but you do have things going on, which are very interesting. Trust me. And I talked about this a wee bit in the last video about places here in it's just outside of Houston. And there was one place I couldn't remember the name of it last time, and can't believe it. Is it gone already? So I'm talking La Bahia. Is that how you say it? At Goliad. You just double check that. I want to absolutely know what that is. Name of that place. Oops. Again, keyboard. Goliad. Bahia. Oh, La Bahia Mission. La Bahia Mission. Goliad. No. And why that's interesting is that's where General Santa Anna had captured a lot of Texans. Oh, I should try and get the numbers. Yeah. So, just how many Texans he had captured as prisoners of war. Santa Anna was not a nice man. Not at all. Wasn't exactly. Well, yeah, the Presidio La Bahia. Correct me if I'm wrong how you pronounce that. But it's a haunted place. It's haunted, and amazingly enough, you can go there and stay at bed and breakfast. That is, you pay, you go, and they lock you in, they go away and leave you in there all night long. And apparently, it's a Spanish fort built in 1749, and is also the site of what became a famous massacre. But it's not a massacre in a battle, as we'll talk about in just a moment. It's okay, just leave it there. Talk about it. Anyway, what's fascinating, as I say, is you can stay there. The people who look after it leave, and you stay bed and breakfast in an ensuite apartment, which opens to a private courtyard, which is many ghosts have been sighted there. So Santa Anna had captured a lot of Texan soldiers, and he had them all executed. He marched them out of there and shot them all. It's an amazing place to visit if you ever go over there in Texas. And that to me, people talk about that to me, is the most like a castle type thing you might find around here. But it says here it was built in 1721. And it was used to defend the coastal area in Eastern Province. So, this one here said La Bahia is a Spanish fort built in present-day Texas in 1749. So a little discrepancy on the dates there, but certainly in the 1700s. But very haunted place apparently. I'm yet to do it. Visited it. I'm thinking now about going there, staying overnight. Maybe doing a bit of ghost busting, because that's an interesting place. So for people to say, "Oh, we don't have like castles and things around here," well, you do. You just have to find them. Now, also other places here in Texas, like the Blue Ghost, the famous ship. That's very haunted. I've been on that too. It's very interesting. But let's just have a quick look. Where's my little notepad? It's disappeared. Yeah, so I wanted to say something about Southern ghosts generally this time before I got onto Scottish ghosts I've experienced. Now, last time I talked about the Delta Queen, and the reason I want to talk about that again is because I have quite a resource of photographs and video that I collected there. I was thinking of creating a small documentary about it. Please. Into my heater. Small documentary about the place, which you can see me doing a bit of ghost busting, calling out the resident ghost Mary B. Green. Although there are others apparently, so who knows? That's certainly one thing I want to do, but not just that, but also a plantation. Visited several plantations over the years, and one plantation in particular was a very creepy place. I took a lot of video footage there. The Myrtles Plantation, the name of it. I took a lot of video footage and a lot of photographs, which showed orbs, a lot of orbs in the photographs. Getting off the beaten track, everyone goes through the touristy bits, but if you really get into the building, oddly enough, I think you can do that as a bed and breakfast also. If you really get into the building though, and look at things like the staircases, I found the staircase particularly interesting because my photographs had a lot of orbs, and it's a dark, sinister place. It looks sinister. It looks very sinister. So I thought, there's got to be some things here. Well, there had been some sightings. I want to talk also about photographs. If you ever get access to a so-called haunted apartment or house or plantation like that, I was looking at some fascinating photographs, and this is from an acquaintance who does this kind of thing, and he takes photographs in the dark. In the dark. He shoots maybe 10 photographs in places where there's been sightings. And he looks back with his digital camera to see if it picked up anything, and occasionally he picks up some images. So basically, the photographs themselves will appear perfectly normal and everyday because he's got flash on and he's taking 10 photographs rapid, and you can do this on a cheap digital camera. Basically, SLR would be better, but there's no reason why you can't do that. So that's a form of ghost busting, and he's got actual figures, human figures. Woman standing, you can see a woman's shape, you can see a woman sitting, you can see a man striding all across the room, things like that. Places where ghosts have been seen before. You can get real physical evidence. Real physical evidence, absolutely. So, well, back to this video. At least I can see myself live on this one. The YouTube video is a minute behind, I think. So I had to see it live so I could see the things responding. Hey, I'm not that vain. I don't care. So I want to talk about a couple of. Let's see if I covered enough of what I was going to talk about. Yeah. So I'm thinking of doing a small documentary on the Delta Queen and another on the Myrtles Plantation. And the thing about the Myrtles Plantation is there's several ghosts. A very creepy place. I'll talk about that more obviously when I create the video. I'm going to have to write a script for it. It's that kind of thing. I'm explaining what it is and where it is and how you can get there and what you might see, what you might experience. But the asides are more interesting. People who have lived in the house, what they tell you. Or people who used to live in the house and no longer live there because they just gave up on it. They decided it was just too much. And there was a young family there with the children. And they would wake up and find your very young children already up. They'd been up for hours. Children do that. Okay, I was terrible when I was a kid. I was up at 4 a.m. But their children would grow up and they would play with their friends. And their friends were, apparently, the ghosts who lived in the house. And they referred to them as the babies. The babies. And when asked by the parents where the babies were, they would point to the lights. And they would even say they're there now. They seem to live around the chandeliers. And that became kind of overwhelming for the people who lived there, the parents. And they gave it a year or two, understand, and then they moved out. They just couldn't take it anymore. They were a bit worried about the long-term effects on the children. So that's interesting. This is children seeing ghosts. I'd be very happy to play with them, and they called them the babies. And that was an interesting story. That's about the Myrtles Plantation. And we'll obviously cover some of that stuff. But I think the most interesting thing is the orbs that I've seen, certainly around the staircase. That staircase is very sinister. And of course, I made a point of filming and spending a lot of time around the chandelier in the dining room, where the babies would often be seen. What is interesting is they will tell you that if you're wearing earrings, Chloe might try and steal them. It was a plantation in the south, and there was a lady worked there, lived there. Was she a slave? I don't know. Chloe, and she loved earrings. And in the time when we were there, my wife, she could feel someone tugging at her earring. This is absolutely true, and I have it on video. I have a video of this, which is insane. First saying Chloe is there now. She's there now, and she's trying to take my earring. Quite often, what would happen is she would steal your earrings, or you'd go back in and discover it's on the floor. And this is one of the strange legends of the house, and we kind of experienced it. That's something to think about. So, so that's one area. The south. The Myrtles Plantation. It's good to Google. You should Google it, see what you come up with, see what the place is like. I have a great resource of photographs I took myself, some video. Same as the Delta Queen. When I'm on the Delta Queen, I had nothing like orbs or anything like I had at that plantation. There's a lot of orbs. But on the Delta Queen, just general eeriness. Late at night, when the whole boat has gone to sleep and you're going around that filming it, it's kind of eerie. And a little frightening. A little frightening walking the decks of it. And these would be two. My third one would be something similar. Now, I don't have any video of this, I don't believe. I'll need to double check. I think it's all photographs, but I'll talk it through, and it would be Rosslyn Chapel. So three potential little documentaries there I could work on. And I'm thinking about it. So let me move on anyway. I want to talk about some ghost situations and things that I've experienced, or my friends have experienced back in Scotland. And one that I grew up near Bedlay Castle. A very, very old manor house. Some people call it Bedlay Castle. We've always called it Bedlay Manor, but when I try and Google it, it always comes up as Bedlay Castle. I'm not sure. It's always a manor house in our opinion. But maybe. It was a bishopric. That is, a bishop lived in it, Bishop's Castle, or whatever. Very interesting, because there's another castle along the road from it, which is very close to where my parents live today. Just a little castle, and that to me was always never quite understood. I was always told that's where the bishop lived. Don't know. But Bedlay Manor was quite different. Very, very old house. And that has a couple of ghosts in it. One is the bishop himself, the first bishop who was granted the place, and they found him in a local loch. Now, I've often wondered about this, and I think it might be the Bishop Loch. No one can say for sure. There are a couple of lochs around there. And the mining industry has obviously taken up some land. And I know a small loch, but there is a very, very small loch. Very close. People have always said it's the Bishop Loch that he died in. They found him face down in the loch, and his ghost has haunted the place ever since. The Bishop's Loch. And I don't know about that, because I know a closer loch, very close to the house, and it's that one's kind of off the beaten track. If you know the area, you will find it. And I actually, I didn't even know it was there a few years ago. I was actually up looking for the apple trees. My parents used to go up to see my parents. There was apple trees up there. My parents used to like to go walk up there and pick the apples, and I went up to try and find these apple trees, and I couldn't find them. But when I crossed, I saw this little fence. They've got a special little turnstile gate and a sign telling you there is a loch there. And I thought, well, that's interesting, because I've never seen this thing. This was quite a recent development the city had put there. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go find that. Have a look at this place, and it's quite a pretty little loch. And oddly enough, it's right practically on the edge of a housing development. They built houses there now, but it's at one side. But it's still you can kind of picture it. And then as the crow flies, I would estimate that's about a mile from Bedlay Manor. I think that might have been the loch they found the bishop in, although centuries ago. Rather than Bishop's Loch. Bishop's Loch has its own stories. It's a different place. totally different place. And quite a walk, and it always seemed odd to me when people always said to me, "Oh, these people cross Bishop's Lock to get to that Bedlay Manor," and that doesn't quite, it doesn't quite tally. You know what I mean? If you think about it in your head, the geography of it doesn't really quite work. But the other place does. So I think maybe the story's a little bit wrong. But that's it anyway. So that was interesting. Now, he's one of the ghosts. He's a bearded man, and he's very not that pleasant, apparently. He stops about upstairs. Well, that's not the most freaky thing. The most freaky thing, and me and my friend went there to try and experience it, is actually a stagecoach. There's the old Glasgow to Stirling Road at the back of the house. It's not that road anymore. It's like it's almost became almost became like a place you would walk. You would stroll there. But hold on, annoying pop up. So, and if you go there, this apparently people have experienced a stagecoach riding up, and then a young girl steps out and there's a scream. This is what the people. This is one of the legends of the place. So, did something happen there in the past century? I don't know, but I do know that when we were there, very dark, very very dark, and what we heard on that road was footsteps. Couldn't see anyone. I mean, it goes between there and Moody's Burn. But certainly we never saw anyone except ourselves. And we were kind of, sitting there, if someone didn't know you were there, they would never have saw us. We were just kind of more or less footsteps walking down the road, single person. And because it was a former road, it's kind of shut off in bits now. It's just kind of ends, ends, as I remember. And the footsteps just seem to go on. On and on, so what that was, I don't know. That was our experience at Bedlay Manor. It's a really nice place to look at. You might want to Google Bedlay Castle. Have a look at it. But that was our experience. So footsteps. On the old road. But what's interesting is you can get right up to the builder. What used to be there, it's not there anymore, was a mausoleum. A haunted mausoleum. And it was so haunted that the residents in the place couldn't handle it. They just could not handle that place. They had it removed to a graveyard. This is true. They actually had the mausoleum removed, the whole lot of it. With the graves and everything, it's just gone. The building's gone to a graveyard, and obviously some other consecrated place to get rid of it, because there was a lot of sightings around there and bad experiences. I just and as a kid I think I remember it. I think I remember that building. Creepy place. But it's Bedlay Manor. But so I wanted to talk about walled off rooms. This is real. Couple of experiences of that. You can visit castles, of course, in Scotland, and manor houses and things like that, and they'll have all kinds of incredible things. They'll even have buildings with priest holes in it. Although I would say that's more common in England, but I've seen them. And what a priest hole was when during the religious wars, particularly the Roundheads and parliamentarians. That era, time of Oliver Cromwell, priests had to make themselves scarce. If the army came to the door, they could be secreted in the priest holes and places like that. And they are very, very. If you ever tried to go in one, someone might shut you in one. It's a horrible experience. I assure you. You go in and try it. Everybody wants to try it. Shut the door and see what it's like. What it must have felt like. And then you add to the terror that must have been in there, they must have experienced. Just waiting there, whether the soldiers are going to find them or whatever. But there's also this weird situation of walled off rooms. And I suddenly came across some weird building, a weird castle, which is associated with my own family. Had a walled-off room in it down by Dumfries, and somehow it was said that there was a white lady, and she was someone who had been walled up for something by some enraged lover in some past century. Oh yeah, I want to talk. There's something else I want to talk about. That's just reminded me because I want to talk about channeling. That's interesting. Yeah, channeling. Yeah, because this is just actually I'm going to just put this on my list so I'll make sure I get to that because that building actually is very important to me. Something I was doing a play that I wrote, or rather was channeled to me. I'll explain that to you. So there's a lot of situations where people have been walled up in these old castles for whatever reason. I mean, God knows what went on back then. And I've certainly been in places that are so weird. I was in a place where the fireplace, you hear allegedly, I'd never heard it, that there would be a child crying late at night. And what else? Other places like oh yeah, there was a woman who was believed to be someone who'd been hanged for witchcraft, and she haunted the building. Made her appearances every now and again. Much the same kind of thing, but I was talking about walled up buildings, wasn't I? Yeah, walled up things. Well, there was a strange one, where some of these buildings, what becomes strange about them is that, a lot of work is done. Renovation work, or just people who still live in the building want to renovate it at some point and live in it, bring it up to modern specs, if you will. And the workers often find corpses in the walls and things like that, from past centuries, which gives some credence to the stories about the buildings. But so there was a place my grandpa used to go to, and that supposedly had a nun, a haunted by a nun, ghostly nun, and there was a crying woman would be heard behind one of the walls in an old castle. And one time when he was a young man, he wasn't thinking. He was coming home from work or something, and he passed by two nuns, and it was a case of like they're walking towards him, and he stepped aside to let them pass. And once he had passed them, he felt it was just so odd. It suddenly dawned on him that they weren't exactly walking; they were kind of floating nuns. Now my wife laughs at this because she calls them the flying nuns, like the TV show. But I said the flying nuns, and he looked back, and there's obviously no one there. There never is in these stories. And that's a funny thing. I want to talk about all these people that say they saw a ghost, and then they never tell you what happened next, do they? They'll say, "Oh, I saw a ghost," and then, "Yeah, oh my God," and then it disappeared. Just gone. But what happened between it, being there? Did it just vanish, or, but the other thing I can honestly say is the people who say, "I looked away, I looked back, and it was gone," or "I moved on and came back, it was gone." That's a common story, mind you. But I don't quite get the story where things just vanish in front of you. Although I do know a person who experienced something in an old house, and he was walking through the corridors, and he's like same kind of situation where he stepped aside for someone walking towards him. I was a building he worked in, and this thing went past him. And it suddenly dawned on him there was no one in the building but himself, and he looked and it was gone. stepped aside, and there was same kind of story. It's seems to be a common one. That one, people stepping aside to let it pass. You're looking with the corner of your eye. You're not maybe you're concentrating on whatever you're doing or going somewhere. So certainly had people tell me that one. But talking about walled off rooms. There's a weird one, and this is very strange. This one because kids notice things that adults don't. That's a fact. And there was an old church by a river, and a friend of a friend, he used to play soccer down there. I used to down there with his friends, and he used to look up at this building and notice the angel in the window. And that's what he would say. Talk about the angel in the window. The angel. So anyway, that was a church building. I don't know how it worked out. It was like I don't know a lot about that building, to be honest. But he when he was a bit older, he got talking to the actual minister of the building. He was a new minister, a young man, and he said to him, "Oh yeah, I when I was a kid, I used to always look up at the angel in the window." And the minister said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he said, "The angel in the window. If you look up, there's an angel's face in the window." And they had a big debate on this angel in the window, and the minister said he was wrong. There's no such thing as the angel in the window, and he suggests there is. He said, "I'll tell you what to do." He said, "Good, I'll tell you where to stand. Just look up, and you will see." And there's a statue. You see the face in the window, and sure enough, absolutely true. There was this thing in the window. You could see the statue's face through a window way up high. And what he did was the minister went away up into the attic, and he searched, and the conclusion he came to was that whatever it was had been walled off. We don't know what that is. It's a walled off room. It's kind of interesting. And it used to puzzle him. And and he said if there's ever any renovation, he was desperate to get in that room, find out what the heck was going on and why there was this extra window, an extra window with an angel's face in it. There's nothing too creepy about that, I don't think. But then again, who knows, And that was a building that had somehow belonged to the church. But yet not a church in and of itself. It was a strange thing. I don't understand the situation, but I certainly know the building he was talking about. That was one of those issues. I want to talk to you about channeling. Do you believe in it? Do you believe you can channel a song or a book? I mean, have you ever thought about that? Maybe you are creative. I mean, have you ever? It's like someone said to me one time. They said, the best songs are written in 5 minutes, and this is probably true. Now, question is, did you write that song or was it channeled to you? I don't know. Or we don't know. Just a minute. And I have experienced channeling. Now, okay, someone might want to talk about the muse. The muse is upon you. Robert Burns, the poet, he often talked about the muse. A lot of poets do. The muse is upon you. And you know when the muse is upon you because it comes so fast that you couldn't even write it down that fast. I've experienced it. And I experienced it in the weirdest. It just came out of the blue. I was, whatever I was doing. And I believe I channeled my own ancestor. And a play came out of it. And the play is Injustice at Sanker Peel. Sanker. It's hard to explain that to you. Hold on, my heater's just driving me mad here. So I wrote this play. Sanker. It's a place in Scotland. In the borders. It's spelled S-E-N. Q-U-H-A-R. So quite a strange name, Sanker. You say it like Sanker. So Injustice at Sanker Peel. And a peel is a castle. An old type of fortress or castle. And what's amazing about this is what I'm talking about, the actual channeling bit of this. I didn't know some of this stuff. I couldn't honestly say that I had this in my, I could just go and say, okay, I've studied that, I know this, I know that. You know, how you do know stuff. Some of the detail in the actual play that just flowed to me was things beyond my learning at that time. And obviously, you know, I would research them and discover they were absolutely true. And these people existed and stuff like that. And that. So that was one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had when I was trying to write. I do write short stories, stuff like that. And this was a play I was writing. I didn't know it was going to be a play. The play wrote itself. Now, how does that mean? What do I mean it wrote itself? Well, it was coming to me so fast that I couldn't write it down. So what I did instead was I got my pearl recorder and I went for a walk and I just dictated the whole play to my pearl recorder. And then I went home and I listened to it and typed it out. And what was amazing is it was almost like a first draft. The draft was like, as going from there to my keyboard was like a first draft. Perfect. Now, I believe I channeled my ancestor. He had a story to tell because he suffered a terrible injustice and came to, you know, suffered a terrible fate also. So basically, you know, if you start visiting these places, you know, and you can really channel. I go and I went and meditated. I've talked about this. Ancient tumuli, castles, places where my family had experiences that you had lived, and all that stuff. But in this case, it came totally out of the blue. And when the muse came to me, I just couldn't fight it, and I knew I had to get it down as fast as possible. And I'm not going to punt my book, but it's on Amazon, my play, Injustice at Saint-Capel. And just recently, I had someone contact me about a small amateur dramatics company, and they asked me how much it would be to perform it. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll toss you for it. I said, flip the coin. And I said, oh, you're in luck. So because basically those guys don't have any money, they're just like, they're doing it for the love of the art for art's sake. And I said, the only payment would be a reading of my play. I would want to listen to you perform on it. You could do me a reading, I'd be more than happy. But it's interesting. I don't know if Hollywood will ever pick it up. But as I say, it was channeled to me. Is it my story? Is it my play? Don't know. But for some reason, that ancestor decided to, you know, drop it on me. Just dropped it on me. Only dripping here. I don't see anything. And my drink's there. There's something dripping. And I don't see anything at all. Ghostly drips. So that was it. So, can you channel someone? Can you channel the dead? There's been other people who talked about things like this in the past. And they've had one woman apparently, she wrote books and everything. Claiming she was channeling someone else. True? Got water now to wash down my whiskey. Okay, product placement isn't really, but I like it. Dr. Pepper. Not advertising anything. I'm drinking this. I don't have to do a review of Dr. Pepper. You know it tastes good. So that was an interesting story about channeling. It's something that I would have been skeptical about a few years ago. So it actually happened to me. And as I say, it's about the muse. So, you know, if you've ever tried writing or writing a song or a play or a book. Just maybe. I seem to have got through my list pretty fast there, actually. So let's see. We've been talking for. I can't even tell. Doesn't. I think this thing tells me. OBS Studio, good product, and it's free if you want to try that. Get streaming. Get talking about things. Ghostly experiences. Talk about right now. Well, you know, channeling. What's interesting about that play is, in the play, he actually talks about the White Lady. Obviously, you know, the character, when he's in the cell, he meets the ghost. Bit Shakespearean, I felt. So there you are. And they have a little talk conversation there. Very interesting. But what I think the most important bit about that story is, I didn't know a lot of this. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so either my subconscious knew a lot of stuff I didn't know I knew, or I was getting it handed to me. That's something to think about. And I've had the same thing with songs. I've written some songs just recently. Kind of sad, really. My father wrote a song a few years ago. A long time ago, actually. And he always felt it was just too country. You know, he thought, you know, this song's too country. That was his problem with it. And, you know, he said, how can you write a song about Scotland and it's just too country? And he thought, that's not a good song. He wrote a lot of good songs. Trust me, he wrote a lot of good songs. But this one, decided it was too country. They kind of put it aside. Good lyrics. The tune was a bit country, and you know, he just felt it wasn't a good one. So I decided to. My father passed on not too long ago. I decided to rewrite the song and make it country, and I turned it into a song about Texas, and it works. So all I need now is Willie or someone to pick my song up, my dad's song, and we're in business. It's a great song. It's a really good song. But, you know, that's interesting, because that's like almost like channeling a little bit. So, looking at it now, I think it was always meant to be a country song. So quite interesting. It's kind of channeling. Oh, we talked about a few things again. A bit happier than, you know, less eerie things to keep you awake. But the wind seems to have died down now. I'm not hearing it in the rafters like I was. That's quite a freaky experience. Talked about knocking. I was in my last video about my friend's place where he'd get used to the knocking in the walls. Quite strange. Yeah, I mean, how can you get used to that? Like one of those things, almost like a white noise. But the white noise is something ghostly. I think the point is about ghosts, making peace with them, learning to live with them. Kind of important. Actually, I'm trying to think. I had one. Oh yeah. That's something I meant to say the other day. Back a couple of videos talking about a particular place. This is the freaky thing. I said, you know, in Scotland we have belief in not just ghosts but demons. Some places, demonic forces, and I had certainly one weird experience. And it was late at night. I was coming home from my friends, and I was coming home. And very dark place. There's no street light. The street lights end there at the town, and then, you know, you've got a couple of miles to walk with no street lights or whatever. When you're 17 or 18, you don't care about these things. I still don't. I love it. I love the dark. You know, the noises of the night are interesting. You hear birds and kinds of things. But this particular night, there was something wrong. And I felt uncomfortable. The woodland to my left, as I walked along the road this way, the road to my right, you'd hear a lot of rustling noises in there. I stepped onto the road, but it seemed to be getting closer to me. And just what I did was I think I challenged it. Shouted a few things at it, and it'd come out of wherever, and this is where it got freaky. We're talking about large pine trees, quite large. Whole plantation, let's say they were maybe 20 years old, those trees. I saw the trees actually moving. Actually, wherever that was in there, the trees moved as it rushed towards me. And I just ran. I just thought, to heck with this, and I'm just gone. And there was a place opposite, Holiday Village thing, and I just ran in there, and kind of hid out at the phone box, watching this thing. And it just went quiet. Nothing. So how I try and rationalise that to myself was, maybe it was a herd of deer that came down from the mountain. But the funny thing is, a herd of deer would not move trees, would not bend trees over. This thing was big, it was running at me, and it was like a demon. I say that's a demonic place. I've often heard a few stories about that place. Oh, not a place to be hanging around at night. And that, oddly enough, if you watch my other video, is where I saw my angel. The angel was on the other side of the road. Very close. Very, very close. Now, that story should have tied into my angel story, because it's the same area, but it had gone out of my mind. But there, you've heard it now, and I just, that was a queer experience, so I kind of got to the phone box. So, and then this guy came along, and he said to me, a bit late to be hanging around here. And I tried to explain to him the story. He said, "What have you been drinking?" I said, "Nothing." It's nothing. This thing is just, weird. Very, very creepy place. Very creepy. So, I think we're done for sleep well.